How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. As you saw from the title, thumbnail of this video, I'm going to be talking about the Acolyte. Normally, I'm really excited to talk about movies and TV shows. This is a little different. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, if you don't know that, and this is going to be probably somewhat of a rant. Maybe a little jumping all over the place. I'll try to keep it structured. I've got some points written down that I'll be going off of. But if you like the show, I'm just being honest, you're probably just not gonna like this video, because I'm not gonna hold back. I'm just gonna be honest. As a lifelong Star Wars fan and someone who's pretty passionate about it and just storytelling in general. So here we go. I guess I'm gonna kind of give a little bit of a review of the first two episodes briefly and kind of talk more so about the third episode / the show as a whole. So it's just, for one thing, it's not that interesting. It's pretty boring in terms of characters. Now, I will say the concept is kind of interesting, okay? It's not a bad premise to have a Sith somewhere that the Jedi didn't know about, who's training an Acolyte, who's trying to kill Jedi. That's not bad in the simplest form of that concept. It's just the execution is really awful. First of all, it just starts out clunky and awkward. Okay, I don't mind a fast intro, an action-packed intro. I think one of the best examples I've ever seen of that is Mad Max Fury Road. That movie just starts and it goes. But it's just weird. We don't know who this character is at all. Like, she's walking into this bar and has the most cheesy line of like, attack me with all your strength. It's like, who are you? Why does this Jedi care? Obviously the whole point is it's a mystery and we're gonna flesh it out and do flashbacks and whatever, but still, it's like I have no connection point at all. You just jumped right in. I don't know who this person is, and it's a super corny line. I appreciate kind of that you're trying to get into the action, but it just, I don't know, it just was not a good start. To each his own. If you thought that was okay, that's hardly a complaint at all compared to everything else. The Jedi in this show are just terrible, and they're supposed to be at their peak. Although we know technically in episode 1 they're really at their peak. Whatever, same range, you give or take 100, 200 years, I don't care. But these Jedi, they're just awful. So Carrie-Anne Moss was hyped up to be in the show. Jedi Master Indara. People are interested to see her come back to like her kung fu skills, whatever, be this cool Jedi Master, and she dies. She dies in the first 10 minutes. And not only that, it's just a horrible death. Like, people were trying to hype up the fight choreography. Now, listen, not to dog on fight choreographers, okay? I'm a martial artist. I've watched tons of martial arts movies and TV shows, more than the average viewer, okay? I've seen thousands, literally, of movies and TV shows. I've seen many martial arts films. The stunt performers in the show, phenomenal. Like, the people in it are great. I don't want to dog people's work, okay? Like, they're talented, they're athletic. The choreography itself is, it's not bad, but it's not great. It's just kind of weird because they try to show the Jedi as being so good that they barely have to do anything. They're basically just like sidestepping and they throw a block here and there, and she's just like all out ninja kicking and flinging her limbs everywhere. And it's just like, I mean, that works for a second, but at a certain point you either have to engage or not, or just put her flat out. And it's like, if you're that good at blocking and all that stuff, she shouldn't, the assassin May should not have been able to kill Indara. And not only that, it's just the way they did it. One of the main problems I have with it is that it's so telegraphed. She literally looks over at this guy at the bar, and then she like gets Indara to look as well, and then she's like, oh, now I'm gonna throw a knife. So then she's like, oh, I'm gonna catch the knife, and then she gets hit with a knife. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, she would know, obviously she's trying to distract me. I need to be ready for whatever the next attack is. But no, it's like, she could have force pushed the knife out of the way. She didn't have to catch it. She could have literally just kept her eyes on her. And like, she could have force caught the one in front of her, or what, or used the lightsaber. It's so awful. Now listen, the concept of doing that is still like a relative possibility in my mind, but you could almost do the exact same thing, but just don't telegraph it and do it faster. She could be like, oh, and then she could just like throw a knife real fast, and then she's like, whoa, I gotta catch it or push it out of the way, and then she like throws several, and then one like catches her. Like, still wouldn't have been great, but it would have been much, much better. The other Jedi death is also terrible, which happens in the second episode. It's this dude who's like floating, and he's got this literal force field around him. May comes in, sneaks into this temple, and she's like punching and kicking and can't break through, and then she leaves. Then a bunch of other dumb, nonsensical things happen, and she goes to get a poison to kill this Jedi, which, again, at the end of the first episode, the Sith character, whatever he is retarded, and I'll get to that in a second, but she goes to get this poison, and she's like, well, I'm not really supposed to be using weapons, so, like, he doesn't have to know that I'm using poison. It's like, you've been using freaking knives. Knives aren't weapons? Stupid. Anyway, she goes back, okay? She's back again, and she, like, just starts talking to him as if he can hear her. I guess he can, because she's like, hey, you need to make up for what you did. You need to accept this poison. You need to, like, ask for forgiveness. And then he literally opens his eyes, and he says, again, horrible writing. He's like, I've been waiting for you. And he's like, forgive me, we didn't know what we were doing. And then he just takes the poison and dies. It's like, if he can censor it in that moment, couldn't he censor the first time she was there? Why didn't he just let the force field down and just let her kill him? Why did he have to kill himself and not her kill him? I mean, she killed Indara. Indara didn't kill herself. It's just stupid. It's contradictory. It doesn't make any sense. So the thing with the Sith, or whatever the heck this dude is, he has this weird, like, speech at the end of the first episode. He's like, oh yeah, he's like, don't use weapons. We're gonna beat them by beating them at their by killing their dream or something or whatever. And he says all this stuff about not using weapons, and then he ignites his lightsaber, and then the thing ends. It's like, a lightsaber is a weapon. Plus, May has been using throwing knives. Like, what the heck are you saying? You're just trying to sound cool, and it makes no sense. It's stupid. And you only ignited the lightsaber, so people be like, ooh, red lightsaber, must be a Sith. Like, it's just like, why? Why? It's just, it gets people to cope. It gets people to be like, oh, this is interesting. Like, who is this guy? He must be a Sith. It's like, are you that entertained by the smallest, most illogical things? Sorry, I'm not trying to make people feel dumb. I'm just like, there's much better storytelling out there. So there's probably a lot more I could say about the first two episodes, other than, like, I'm not like interested really in the dynamic between the sisters. You know, one's a failed Padawan or whatever, but it's like they're trying to play this up as like, what really happened the night that, like, their village died, because they came from this random planet, from this coven of witches, and it's like, whose fault is it? Was it May? Did she actually start this fire? You know, were the Jedi involved? Did they do anything? And it's supposed to be so interesting and fascinating, like, oh, maybe she did start the fire, but maybe she had a good reason. And maybe the Jedi did some nefarious things because they wanted to get the Force-sensitive children, and they're not as good as they've always been. It's just like, all these fan theories, all the things people are saying online, it's just like cope. It's just like the hardest cope I've ever seen. And some people are like, oh wow, like, maybe the Jedi haven't always been so good, or maybe they're not as good as we thought. And it's like, no, it's freaking propaganda. It's like, you're thinking that because they're literally transforming lore and the story into that. The prequels already dealt with the fact that the Jedi weren't perfect. And you see it play out even in the original trilogy, with the way Obi-Wan talks to Luke about Anakin and things like that. It's not like the Jedi are ever portrayed as, like, literally perfect. But they are good. They want to be better. Even at the end of episode 3, when Anakin reveals to Mace Windu that Palpatine is the Sith Lord they've been looking for, even Mace Windu's like, oh my gosh, like, we've been blinded. How did we not see this? Just because they're not perfect doesn't mean they aren't guardians of peace and justice, that they don't want to do better. That's insane to just think that, oh, because they made some mistakes, that they're just now they are the bad guys. Do you see what's happening? They're putting forward the notion that, like, whatever May did that night possibly is okay. It might even be a good thing, because maybe the Jedi had bad motives and she was stopping them. And so it's this twisting of, like, hey, let's call evil good and let's call good evil. And that's immoral. That's wrong. All this show does is deconstruct lore. So episode 3 of The Acolyte, it's called Destiny or whatever. It's terrible. It's terrible writing. And, like, honestly, like, watching the first, like, 10 or so minutes of it, I just had an icky feeling. Like, And I'm not trying to like be weird about that, but I'm just being honest. Like, I'm a Christian, I have strong morals and beliefs, and I was just like, man, it's just this show feels gross. And it's like, because it's like these two main characters, they come from a witch coven. It's gross. Like, I don't care that there is a witch coven in Star Wars or whatever. They've already done stuff like that before. But it's like, it's the fact that you're making them seem like they are being interfered with, that they have every right to do the things that they're doing, when obviously their mannerisms, their weird song, which was so weird, and their chanting, like all their physicality is quite demonic. Like, I don't know if you've ever been around demon-possessed people, but it's pretty gross sometimes. And not to hate people, it's like, let's get the demons out of them, you know? Let's set people free and bring them into the light and into joy. But like, people who are praising this as like, oh my gosh, like they're so interesting or cool, or they have a unique philosophical view on the Force, which apparently the Force isn't the Force, what we've all known it to be. Apparently it's the thread, and you pull on the threads to choose your destiny however you want it to be. And it's like, okay, like that's not Star Wars. It's not, again, it's not to say that you can't implement these concepts within Star Wars in terms of like, this witch coven believes this, but it's the way that it's presented to the viewer and to the story as a whole. It's put in there and put in the dialogue in a way to be like, this is actually more interesting than the Force, and this is probably how you should view the Force now. And now when we make new stories, we'll probably talk about the thread more, or pulling the threads. And what you loved about Star Wars and the whole like magical system that was in place, which was the Force, it's kind of irrelevant now. It can kind of just be whatever we want it to be. So now we'll probably get more time traveling nonsense. We'll probably get more Force or thread powers, so it probably won't be like lightning from the hands anymore. It'll probably be like pink butterfly holograms or fireballs, or I don't know. Who cares? Who cares, right? Because it doesn't matter, because Star Wars is whatever they want it to be now. And the show, it's rife with identity politics, man. I don't want to offend anybody here, but I'm just being honest. I, as a believer, have a strong view of what morality is biblically, and how we walk that out in our lives. And there's so much deconstruction of like the family unit in Disney Star Wars, especially in this show. It's awful. Also, all the men in the show are retarded. As I mentioned, I guess his name was Master Torben, the one who just freaking drank the poison. Dumb. All the Jedi at the temples who are trying to protect the temples, like they don't question anybody. They just assume ill intent all the time. They don't actually use the Force to like sense people's emotions or anything like that. They're just like always on the draw. Like even Yord. It's like even Yord is an idiot. Like he's supposed to be, I think, one of the main Jedi characters, but he's so, like they make fun of him all the time. And Jecki, the most flat piece of wood character you could imagine, she's always giving him a hard time. And they try to have this weird like sitcom moment with him and her. There's like a line when she and Saul are talking, I forget who says it, but one of them's like, oh, well, you know Yord. And it's like, what does that even mean? Like, we don't know anything about any of these characters. And they're like, well, you know Yord. And we're supposed to be like, ah, that's so funny, right? Like, what? What about him? I don't freaking care. It's not funny. It's just so lame. It's so lazy. It's lazy writing. It's like, oh, I know in sitcoms, I know when people try to make jokes in movies and TV shows, they kind of make fun of somebody else. And they say like, well, you know, that's how they are. It's like, well, yeah, but usually when they say that, we have context for why they're saying that. It's embarrassing. And I'm sick of the fact that all the dudes in the show are just stupid. Like, I don't care that you've got main female characters. It's not a problem. And for anyone that's watching that's just like complaining about all the fans right now, you just like it because there's women in it, strong women. It's like, you're so wrong. Like, we love Princess Leia. We love Queen Amidala. We love Mara Jade. We like Asajj Ventress. We like Ahsoka Tano. There's many, many more even. Like, you know, it's like, can you even name all those characters? Like, the people criticizing all the fans that they don't like strong female characters. Can you name all the characters I just named? Even if you can, it doesn't matter. It still proves my point that we like strong female characters. But I just also don't like the fact that all the male characters are dumb, aside from Saul, and I have no faith that they're gonna leave that character alone. I think they're gonna ruin him somehow, whether he's somehow either evil, or they make him stupid, or they kill him off. Like, they're gonna ruin him, because you can't have a good male positive character in Star Wars anymore. So it's like, I'm sorry if you like Saul, I'll be honest, I like that actor. Like, I think he's doing a good job in his performance. I feel bad because I'm like so sure that they're just gonna ruin his character. So it's like, why even bother? I mentioned this before, but the dialogue is so bad, especially in episode 3. And again, it just plays into the identity politics. So one of the lines that first caught me was, "Twins are not normal children." How? What do you mean? Like, you mean twins that are force sensitive are not normal children? Like, what are you talking about? It's like, are they not normal in the fact that they're literally just twins? Other than that, like, they're just like all other kids? Like, what a weird line. Another horrible line from the mother of the Switch Coven is, "She's old enough to know what she wants." She's referring to the character of Usher. It's like, wow. Just not even subtle, Disney. We already know about your agendas concerning children. It's like, oh, she's old enough to know what she wants. Doesn't matter, like, she doesn't need guidance from moral people or parents. It's like, no, like, children are fully developed. Like, their brains are just as developed as adults. They can make life-altering decisions, right? Horrible line. Very, very telling. And then literally just a few minutes later, the same character says to Usher directly, "As you grow, what you want changes." So, like, what are you saying? Are you saying, like, you're actually grown and you know what choices you want to make and you're good to go? Or, hey, you should wait because you're not grown and then you should make choices? It's just convoluted and messy. And then also her character is just so, like, contradictory and weird, because when they know that the Jedi are on the planet, at first she's like, "All right, everyone, hide the kids. We don't want them to know they're here. It's like a big deal. Like, keep them secret. We're doing this stupid, weird ceremony. We don't want them to know about them. Okay, keep it under wraps. We don't want them to go with the Jedi." And then Usher wants to go with the Jedi, and all of a sudden she's like, if it's what you want, maybe that's okay. So you were just like railing against the Jedi and how they don't have the right to just like take away force sensitive children, but yet the Jedi are like, yeah, we do have that right. And even in that, like, they don't explain it. They just do this quick little thing of conflict to just create tension and to put in your mind that maybe the Jedi are not as good as we think or want them to be. It's like you literally intentionally leave details out to make things look a certain way, and it's so annoying. So it doesn't make sense for her to be all against the Jedi, then they realize the kids are there, and then she's just like real chill about it. Now she's acting like, oh yeah, I don't care if they know that the children are here. And then when Osha's like, yeah, I want to be a Jedi, she's like, okay, that's sad, but I guess if that's what you want. May doesn't like that because she's brainwashed, and she starts a fire. And the fan theories about this are nuts. Like, it's just funny to me that people are coping so hard, because they'll be like, oh, like, maybe May didn't actually start the fire, maybe the Jedi did, or maybe she did, but the Jedi seem to already be there, so maybe they're the ones who killed all the Night Sisters, or not Night Sisters, whatever these witches are. But it's like, it's funny because some of these fan theories, I'm like, that's pretty interesting. It's probably not going to be anything that you're saying. Like, some of the fan theories are like probably better than what you're going to get. Like, because there's nothing in the show, in the writing, that proves that it's going to be this very interesting mystery, or that it's going to connect to all these other parts of the lore that they are trying to connect, because they are fans and they know it. But I'm just like, I hate to break it to you, like, don't get your hopes up. Like, it's probably going to be really boring, really sad, and the gist of it probably is like, yeah, there probably is some sort of foul play caused by the Jedi in some sense. It's just going to paint a worse picture on them. Anyway, those are just some of my thoughts. I'm a passionate Star Wars fan. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep watching. I feel like I kind of should. I feel like it's important to comment on these issues in terms of like the fact that it doesn't feel like a show. It doesn't feel like entertainment. It's just propaganda. It's just trying to get you to dislike established things that you already like. It's a disgrace to Star Wars. It just like, It's a disgrace to the show that George Lucas made. And I know some people might be watching this and be like, oh, why do you care so much? It's just Star Wars, just a show, just relax, just enjoy it. It's like, okay, well, I could say the same thing about you trying to cope so hard or trying to convince me that, like, it's actually good when it's obviously not a good show. Even if you take the name Star Wars, especially, like, if you take the name Star Wars off it, it is not good. It's not entertaining. The writing, the dialogue is just bad. The budget is huge. I think some of it looks fine. I think people go way too hard on some of those little things, but it doesn't change the fact that the budget is outrageously huge, and it's like, where did all that money go? So whatever, there's so much more I could say. I'll probably hang in there for another episode or two, I'm not sure. But I just, even outside of the fact of caring too much about Star Wars, I care about art, I care about storytelling, I care about morality, I care about people being set free. And I'm not gonna pretend hailing a witch coven as morally ambiguous or possibly good and the Jedi possibly being bad as something that's okay. It's just not okay. I wouldn't go for that really in any other show. It's like, it's obvious that they're witches. It's obviously that they're like demon possessed. They're maniacally cackling while they're doing a weird seance thing. That's not a good thing. Like, let's stop this like confusion and muddling of good and evil. Good is good, bad is bad. It's not bad is good. It's not good is evil. It's very clear. I'm very passionate about that in storytelling, period. Whether it's Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, any other fandom, any other franchise, any other just new movie or show. It doesn't matter what it is, it could be totally independent. But let's stick to good storytelling, guys. Let's look forward to the future. If you've got movies or shows that you're working on, I encourage you, get them out into the world. Hollywood's not doing anybody any favors right now. I hope you did enjoy this discourse. Please feel free to leave comments. I love interacting with you guys. Now let's keep it civil. If you didn't like it, feel free to express it. If you liked it, feel free to express it. But like, let's not like hate on other people or fans. No name calling. I don't want any of that. I like fans. I like fans that disagree with me. I've already had interactions with fans who disagree with me on this, and we were totally civil. So please don't be attacking each other in the comments or anything like that, okay? Let's talk, hopefully, about the things we like about Star Wars. So again, if you like The Acolyte, you are welcome to join this community. You are welcome to talk about Star Wars or any other thing when it comes to art or storytelling. You are welcome on this channel. Thank you so much, guys, for hanging in there with me. I know it might have been a little brutal, but I so appreciate it. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.